common question I get asked is, can I turn my embroidery machine off if I'm not finished with the design, and will it come back to where I left off? And the answer is yes. Hi, I'm Sarah from sewingmastery.com, and we're doing tons of free video tutorials on this beautiful Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 3. And yes, I just have a recent design hooped up just to have something in the hoop, because what I want to show you is, yes, once you have started embroidering a design, how you can turn the machine off in the middle. Now, this would also apply should you have a power outage. That's hopefully not a thing in your area, but if that happens and your power goes out while you're embroidering, how you can get back to where you are simply by turning the machine back on. So power outage, go ahead and turn the machine off and just wait till you're back out of what's ever happening at your location. But here's what I do have to do. So yes, even though I have something else in my hoop, I do have something on the screen that I've kind of edited and put together. If this is as far as I wanted to go today, what I would want to do is just go ahead and save the combination of the two designs and the lettering that I've put together. And you would use the save feature down here, which is not a bad idea, to just go ahead, highlight the name, which is this new design, give it a name. And so I'm going to just put in love and then save. So that just saves the design. So if I turn my machine off right now, I would retrieve that like I'm opening up a new design tomorrow, and it would be saved all together. But what I'm talking about is once you've started to stitch, and that's actually going to be the key part here. So let's go ahead to get to our next screen. We're going to go to the stitch out screen. I'm going to be asked to attach the embroidery hoop once that embroidery arm comes into position. Now, I believe that once I am right here, if I turn the machine off and on, but what I want to do is go ahead and actually physically take a couple stitches. Now, I don't even have thread in this machine. The machine isn't going to know, but I am going to go ahead and just take a few stitches. 1, 2, 3, the design starts stitching. I have the thread cutter off, so it says to cut the thread and remove the tail. That's all good. But what I've done is physically gone into the design, and I'm already on to stitch number 11. That's exactly enough. So here's how it's going to go. I'm going to go ahead, turn the machine physically off. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on. You know, we have that warming up period, and we know the first message is that the embroidery arm wants to calibrate. So right about now is when I'll go ahead, take my hoop off the embroidery arm, and just set it on the bed of the table, because that embroidery arm is going to go out, it's going to calibrate, and then we're going to see the message that comes up. So fast forward, our first message that comes up is your embroidery ended unexpectedly. Do you want to resume embroidery? Now this is the most important part you need to touch. You need to say yes. At this point, it's going to ask for the embroidery arm to calibrate. Go ahead and let it calibrate. The embroidery arm moves back in. It tells me to attach the hoop so it knows which hoop I was using last. And you can already see in the background, we are at the stitch out screen of our design. And if we open up stitch out progress, you're going to see we're on stitch number 11, the last stitch that we took before we turned the machine off. Now, usually at this point, just kind of think with me, if I had taken a few stitches and then the machine got turned off or the power got bumped by somebody at a class, oh no, right? So there would have been a thread attached to that last stitch. Being that I would have had to clip it and pretend to start over, I would go ahead and back up a few stitches before starting, especially if that was going to be part of the design that you would see. Some parts of designs are like underlay stitches, so you really wouldn't have to worry if you were probably this close to the beginning. But if you were somewhere in the middle of a design, in the middle of a satin stitch going around a very prominent area, yes, just like if you had to refill your bobbin or if your thread had broken, I would back up a few stitches and then start the machine. That way you know you're not going to have any missing stitches or gap once you start again. But do keep in mind, and we could have transported this machine to another location, turned it on, and it will have come back to the last design that you were in the middle of stitching. Okay, I'm going to do that quick little test because I too need to know whether this will be remembered if I turn the machine off without taking that first stitch. All right, the machine just turned on and I am not greeted by the message that my machine had stopped during the middle of embroidery, and that's because I didn't take a stitch. So I was remembering correctly, but I wanted to double check for you, and that is a true statement. You have to start the embroidery design. You have to take a few stitches for it to register that you are then in the middle, and yes, then it will save automatically. So there's no extra setting you have to turn on. This is just part of the machine's ability to remember the last thing that it was in the middle of stitching. So I hope this has helped, and if you get in one of those predicaments, whether at a class and somebody bumps your power cord, an unexpected thunderstorm knocks the power out, or a squirrel running through your transformer, and poof, no more electricity at your house, that you will not need to worry about your embroidery design. But I would turn your machine off, wait till everything's back to normal, and then pick up where you left off.